We all live in a reality shaped by everyday moments, real world experiences, and the quiet decisions that define who we are. And if we're not careful, life begins to lead us instead of the other way around. In the middle of it all, beneath the noise, beyond opinion and assumption, there's a desire we all share: truth. Not just what's correct, not just what's easy to verify, because correctness alone doesn't satisfy the heart. The truth we truly desire is built on integrity, reliability, faithfulness, stability, and correctness. When those stand together, truth stands on its own. It holds itself accountable. It remains trustworthy even when tested. So the question is not whether truth exists. The question is whose truth is truth. Truth does not bow, break, nor bend. It stands, and so shall we. This is Truth is the Desire.
Accountability is owning your actions, decisions, and results that follow. It's about keeping your commitments, being honest about outcomes, and accepting feedback. When accountability is lived out, it builds trust and shows a willingness to improve. Accountability often becomes an issue when something goes wrong. Rarely do we hear people criticized for doing the right thing, doing good, or simply doing what they're called to do. In those moments, accountability isn't questioned. The challenge comes when it's time to face the music. Accountability is often avoided because of the fear of consequences. People worry about what might happen if they take responsibility. Will I get kicked out of school, lose my job, ruin a marriage, get punished, miss out on something important, go to jail, lose a friendship, or the acceptance of someone they love? These thoughts can overwhelm the mind when a person becomes aware of their role, whether for what they did or failed to do. And sometimes a person doesn't even realize accountability is required. There are moments when people don't know that they need to own up until much later in life. Let me share a few examples. A father who didn't know he had a child.
You wait until now to tell me that we have a 10-year-old son together.
So we have the family that is now pretty much in the background, but still yet front and center of this conversation that is taking place with the dad and the husband. The husband is saying, as he's holding up the phone, you wait until now to tell me we have a 10-year-old son. Prior to this call, I can only imagine that possibly they were sitting down, probably talking about their day, making some jokes, kids sharing what did or did not happen at school, homework that they do or do not have to do, talking about an upcoming field trip. That's what I can see in my imagination. What about y'all? What do you see? What do you think was taking place with this family before the phone rang? As the phone rings, he immediately recognized the voice to where it makes him step away from the family just a little bit, which is why he's in front and they're in the background. The woman on the other end is telling him what's been going on and that he has a son and that she needs his response. There's something that she's requiring from him to where his response is, you wait until now to tell me we have a 10-year-old son? As that phone call hangs up, this family's life is changed. Whatever it was prior to that phone ringing, their lives will never be the same. It is completely up to them if it is going to be now for better or for worse. Depending on the type of person the father is and the type of person the wife is going to determine the outcome of this family's life moving forward. So they have to sit down and have a different conversation. But it's not just about the husband and the wife, because you have two sons standing in the background and that have heard this conversation. So can you imagine the questions that are flowing? Dad, we got another brother? Dad, how we get another brother? Just the questions that would be coming from these two kids' minds. The dad got a world full of things going on in his own mind. The wife got questions, but she's going to respectfully handle her sons first before she goes throwing all her questions at her husband. Hopefully, she already knew about the previous relationship because it could have been a one night stand. Could have been something that just happened, could have been a short-lived relationship, which is why the woman on the other end didn't feel the need to disclose to him. Maybe there's issues with the son now, maybe there's something going on health-wise to where she needs to reach out. Maybe he's acting up at school to where which is why she needs to reach out. Maybe he's done some digging and some research of his own, and maybe he could have came across something in his mother's personal belongings that showcased who the dad was to where now she needs to reach out. Like the scenarios can go on and on and on and on and on because these are situations that take place in real life. Up until this very phone call, he didn't know that a third son even existed. He didn't know that there was another child out there that he needed to be responsible for. It's not that he walked away willingly from a responsibility. He didn't know anything about it. You are not accountable for anything that you are not aware of. Absolutely not accountable. It is not until there is something to be made aware of that you become accountable. And how are you going to handle it now? So, how this dad chooses to handle moving forward now that he knows he has a 10-year-old son, that is the game changer in this situation right here. How the wife chooses to back him up and now knowing that her husband has a 10-year-old son out there. That's going to be a game changer. Situations, many times, is how we choose to handle it. So if you are a person out there who has just found out some information, give yourself some grace. Do not beat yourself up for something that you were not aware of, something that you had no clue about. But now that you know, what are you going to do with the information now that you know? Can't worry about how come someone did not share, how come you did not know, why am I just now getting this? Can't worry about that. You'll waste way too much time and energy on the but why. Now that you know, spend your energy, spend your prayers, spend your thinking process. Allow it to be in your now. How are you going to move forward now that you know? How will this dad move forward now that he knows he has a 10-year-old son? How do you think this plays out? I think that it's going to play out with him setting up a date to meet the son and getting to know him and getting the feel of him and meeting with the son's mom and them having a conversation, and maybe the dad, the wife, and the son's mom sit down and have a conversation without the children, because now there's some things that has to be established. Obviously she wants him to be a part of the son's life now, or she wouldn't have reached out. What is your thoughts? Would love to hear.
A leader whose words discourage someone.
The results don't meet our standards.
But we worked overtime all week.
Effort is not the same as results.
So you have a leader who is talking to three staff members in this clip. And obviously, he is giving them feedback on a project that they've been working on. But what he doesn't know is that there's going to be discouragement placed upon one of the staff members from his feedback. Is he accountable? Does he need to own up to that? No, because he doesn't know. I'm sure just like many times before, they have had staff meetings after projects and he's let them know this is approved. We are not going to approve that. The client will be satisfied with this. The client will not be satisfied with that. This is up to company standards. This is not up to company standards. So this meeting wouldn't be new. They would understand and already know the process. But when he gets to the point where he says their effort isn't the same as results, it's something different that settles with one of the staff members that their effort didn't amount to anything this go round. That becomes discouraging to them, especially after spending a whole week of putting your best foot forward, working overtime, and then your leader tells you, like, all the effort and all the hard work you put into that, it did not produce a result. It is not up to company standards. So that has a way of playing in someone's mind differently. How can someone be discouraged from those particular statements? Well, if this person figured, this is a project that they can showcase their hard work, they can showcase the different ideals that they have and bring it to the company. but he tells them these results are not company standard. That's an immediate shutdown for someone. The boss or the leader is not responsible in this moment because he doesn't know. He didn't do anything any different than he normally does at a meeting, which is give them correction, redirect them so that they can go and start reworking the project to bring back a better result. It will take one of two ways of him knowing that his words have now discouraged one of the staff members. Either the lady that was talking, she's going to speak to the other two members and let them know how she feels, and it'll get back to the leader that way. Or she's going to have the courage to finally go and speak to him and let him know that it actually discouraged her. It wasn't encouragement for her to make her want to go and pour a whole nother week of effort into it, not knowing if it was going to be company standards or not, not knowing if he was going to say the same thing, that your efforts is not the same as results. But now that he knows, whether if it was the other coworkers that brought it to his attention or she brought it to his attention. And just for imagination's sake, I would hope that she brought it to his attention. So therefore, there's no misunderstanding on what she said or what she shared. She took it right from her mouth and she took it to her leadership. Now that they can have a conversation on why he said what he said, and maybe that'll give him the moment to be able to encourage her, standing on what he means, that she's going to still have to redo the project, but he knows that she has and is capable of more than what was produced. He knows that she has everything in her to ensure that that project is up to company standards. This is why she was brought on the project. Giving him the opportunity to stand and now take accountability, something that came out of his very own mouth, is settled as discouragement. Because just listening to the clip, he sounded direct. He was more direct. He didn't sound rude in tone, or he didn't sound malicious. This is the leader. This is what is needed. This is what he was looking for. And that's not the results that came about. But still being told that your effort is not the same as results kind of downplayed what they spent doing over that whole week, to where they had to do overtime each day because they were putting in the effort and they were putting in the ideals and the mindset, and the work was getting put in, is what I'm trying to say. They were putting in the work all week. So just to easily say your effort is not the same as results, that is where the discouragement settled in at. And if I have to go and do this next week and we got to come back to this, if I'm put back on this project, am I going to be told the same thing after spending a whole week tirelessly working on this? So hopefully she would have went to the leadership, spoke to him, and let him know that what he said was a discouragement for her. But now, once it is spoken about, he has the opportunity to still stand in what needs to be done, because this is a project. Feedback is needed, but he also has the opportunity now to be encouraging and to give some encouraging words so that they can move forward in a different way.
A friend who drifted away during a hard season.
I know you're hurting, but shutting everyone out isn't the answer.
It's too painful.
Please let me in. We can face this together.
In this clip right here, you have two friends, the one holding the phone, the one that we can actually see. You can hear her emotion, that she's sad that her friend has been pushing her and maybe some other friends away during a painful time in her life, versus allowing them into her space to be there to help her, or just to be there. Maybe no words need to be said, but just to be there in her presence so that she knows physically we are here for you. If you need a hug, we got you. If you need somebody to hand you a Kleenex, I will get you a Kleenex. I'll get you two just in case. She wasn't able to do that. So you hear her emotions are like on a high alert as she's talking to her friend. The friend is trying to protect herself. The friend is dealing with whatever pain she's dealing with. So she's not consciously thinking that I am hurting those who are trying to reach out to me. Right now, she's trying to console herself, but that she doesn't realize that there is something on the opposite end that is taking place, that she is hurting those because she's not responding. She's hurting those because they know that she is pushing them away. Maybe it's something she does all the time. Maybe she could be that type of friend that when you're going through something, she's always there for you. But the moment she starts going through something, she builds up walls and it's like no one can get to her. Those are things that could begin to break down a relationship, any type of relationship, but this is a friendship. So it can begin to break down a friendship because now you're hurting me. But if the friend is not aware, wasn't aware of that until they started having this phone conversation, and she's letting her know, let me in. Now the friend on the other end is now accountable for how she moves forward. Now she's accountable not just for this friend that's on the phone with her, but for family members and other friends that she's been treating the same way. It wouldn't be that someone is downplaying her pain and making the situation about them, but they're just trying to reach out and she's pushing everyone away. That doesn't mean that she would have to invite everyone in and tell everybody everything that happened word from word, moment from moment. That's not the case at all. But just to acknowledge and say, friend, I'm sorry that you felt that I didn't want to be bothered with you. I'm sorry that I did begin to push you away because the pain was so hard for me. I didn't even know how to express it, to put it into words for anyone to help me. I needed to just step back and take this time for me. To be able to handle it in that type of situation is taking full ownership. So I'm going to say she takes full accountability and she apologizes, but in the process, she could still be a private person, more private than all the other friends. So she lets them know, I will make sure that I'm responding to you, but I am good. So if all I do is respond and just say, I'm good, I love y'all, and I'm okay. And I'm simply responding because I want you to know that I'm not pushing you away. I'm just handling this thing a little differently. That's how I think she would handle it. So, what do you think? How would she handle it? How would you handle it?
But the moment they learn the truth, there's responsibility that now needs to come into play. So, what's the response? In any situation, whether you knew about it at the time or not, once you become aware, you now hold a powerful card, the power of choice. Awareness does not force change. This is where accountability is often misunderstood. Becoming aware simply creates an opportunity. Once awareness comes, you now have the chance to step outside of feelings, thoughts, and fears. The opportunity for faith, trust, and ownership presents itself because truth has now exposed the situation. Accountability will always be rooted in truth and ownership. For many people, walking in accountability isn't about not knowing. Many know exactly what they've done. For example, a person who knew they were wrong but stayed silent.
So here we go. As she stands here in this beautiful white blouse, saying nothing, absolutely nothing. The cops have even come over to get ready to start questioning her, and she still has nothing to say. She's going to say nothing. She's not telling on herself, not at all, not one iota. Complete silence. Because there are some things in life that are being done and people know that they're wrong. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. The point, the blank, and the period, they wrong. And they know that they are, but they're not going to own up to it. So they're going to stand in silence. Facial expressions, body language may speak and say something else, but they refuse to allow the words to come out of their mouth, even when the cops are present. Some people know that what they have done and are doing is just completely wrong. So as she stands here in silence, I want you to look at her for just a moment as the face and the body language does the talking, but she still holds her ground and she says nothing. Accountability is important because it shapes who you are. It shapes your character. It has a way of shaping your heart and your mind. And if you downplay accountability enough times, you end up molding yourself into something you were never created to be. Because it's like have you ever seen the movie Little Shop of Horror? And he kept feeding that plant and he kept giving that plant a little of this and a little of that to where eventually that plant got big and he just wanted more and more and more and it began to consume him. When us as human beings don't own up and stand in accountability the way that we supposed to, it begins to consume us in a different way and it begins to mold and make us into something we were never meant to be. And that's not a good thing. So there are moments in life where even owning up to yourself and being able to speak out and speak the truth over yourself, it was me that did it. I don't know why I did it, or I know exactly why I did it. But to be able to open your mouth and say it was you, that does something different versus just shutting all down and not saying nothing at all. So there are moments when, yes, we do need to be silent and need to stand in that silence. But there are moments when you need to open your mouth. And this is one of those moments where she's guilty of whatever it is she's guilty of, but she refuses to open her mouth. She is not taking accountability. So, what do you think?
A spouse who knew boundaries were crossed.
Beautiful day for a walk.
It really is so peaceful. I need to take this. 1 second.
Who is it?
Just work, it's nothing.
Now, this is a nice looking couple right here walking down the street. Next thing you know, the wife is distracted by her phone. The husband knows something is off because I'm sure he feels it in his gut, but she covers it up with work. That is work, but her face speaks and says it's not really work. So, a spouse who is crossing boundaries, and with phones, boundaries sure enough can be crossed. In this instant, let's say that she's starting to work on a project and she's working on a project with a gentleman at work, and the conversation has begun to go places it should not go, and she's enjoying his compliments and she's enjoying his quirky jokes, and she knows that it's inappropriate. She knows that boundaries are being crossed, and this attention that she's giving him should be for no one but her husband. Maybe she hasn't crossed the boundary yet to be touchy-feely or intimate in any level. Maybe it's just the jokes starting off, and it's the compliments that she's receiving and now giving. But whatever it is, she knows that she wouldn't be able to tell her husband. She knows that boundaries are being crossed, and so she's using work as an excuse. But the husband knows that something's not right. And the beauty about time is that truth always finds us out. Truth is going to present itself no matter what it is. So when you have the opportunity to stand in truth, it's a blessing when you're given the opportunity to stand in it. So stand in it. But in this scenario right here, she's not standing in it. She put work in between it. So when it does come out, she's going to have to stand in accountability. Is she going to stand in it, or is she going to be silenced like the young lady was in the last clip? What's your thoughts?
A student who cheated, someone who witnessed injustice and chose not to act. In these moments, truth stands front and center, and truth always invites a response. Choice also stands front and center. A person can respond in a way that brings healing, hope, and heart assurance, or respond in a way that brings hurt, bitterness, and ongoing heartache. This is where accountability becomes personal. Choice determines whether ownership is taken. These lies quiet the conscience and delay actions until a decision is made to do nothing at all. This is where accountability becomes uncomfortable, because choice demands response, and often multiple voices are speaking at once. On one side, counterfeit truth speaks loudly. I'm not responsible. What happens next isn't my problem. You knew who I was, so deal with it. They'll get over it. This mindset can continue unchecked until a decision is made to do nothing at all. When that happens, fear or pride takes over, and accountability is avoided. Not because the truth isn't known, but because it feels costly. On the other side of truth, God's truth speaks differently. Truth says, move toward me instead of away. Trust me, and fear will flee. I will set you free. This is why God does not withdraw when truth confronts us. He doesn't step back in disappointment. He steps closer in invitation. God invites us to walk forward with him, ready and willing to help us navigate responsibility. No matter the situation, whether it's easy or hard, clean or messy, beautiful or ugly, God desires to be present, helping us grow, heal, and walk in freedom. In the book of James, chapter 1, verses 19 through 26, James makes it clear. Truth isn't just something we hear, it's something we respond to. Accountability is lived out in obedience. Biblical accountability is not about condemnation, it's about companionship. God walks with us as we take ownership. He strengthens us as we choose truth and grows us as we respond in obedience. So, in closing, accountability is what happens after truth shows us something we can no longer unsee. I'm Maria Suber. Thank you for spending time with us. This has been Truth is the Desire.